Hello and welcome back to my channel. Sorry I didn't make a video last week. I know I'd been making weekly videos, but just didn't feel like it, and I don't want to, push myself to do something that I am not having fun doing and getting burned out. So, sorry if the pace slows down a little bit than what you were used to. I still plan on releasing regular videos, if not, weekly, but I still have plenty of ideas. I'm not going anywhere. But for this week's video, I want to show off a few old magazines that I have, mostly old goth magazines and one Lolita magazine. I have a bunch of these old Gothic Beauty magazines and one English language Gothic and Lolita Bible, as well as one, and this one I'm really excited about, super old, super rare 90s goth zine called As If. Now, I'm not going to be reading articles, we're just going to look at pictures because I don't want this video to be like a million hours long. So I'm just going to go through and take a look at what we have. Let's see. Here, I think this is my oldest one. I want to say this is from 2005. This is one of my Gothic Beauties. I'm not sure what issue it is. It's missing the cover, as you can see. Sorry I didn't take such great care of my magazines back in the day, but, I'm glad I still have them, because I think these are a really cool and interesting part of subculture history. So, here's this first page here, this little PVC outfit. That's really pretty. Let's see. More stuff. An ad for some candles. Here's an interview with Poppy Z. Wright. I'm not gonna read that, but it might be an interesting thing to some people. There's an article about reality TV ghost chasers. Interesting. Remember that era? I used to watch Ghost Hunters all the time back in the 2000s. Not so much anymore, though. Yeah, here's a little DIY thing for how to make this fabric-covered French board here. Let's see, I want to find some more good outfit things. Here's a Lacuna Coil interview. Here's some ads. Look at these ads. Okay, here we got some more nice fashion pictures. I used to really like this model here. I think, what was her name? Apnea is what she went by. I think she used to be on the cover of this magazine. Here's a thing about the artist Gris Grimley. Here's some cute spooky art, and then here's this ad for Bleeding Edge Goths. I love these dolls. I have a couple of them. You probably saw in my room tour video. Yeah, I'd like to get more of those. They don't have so many good goth dolls anymore. Back in the 2000s, there were so many cool, like, goth and horror dolls around, and I wish they still had stuff like that. Here's a whole little getting ready thing with Apnea. I used to love this whole photo set here, this whole thing. I thought she looked so cool, and I liked the one of her, like, at the Walmart. Thought that was funny. I always think about this photo set whenever I'm all gothed up just in the grocery store. Get some more of this. I just liked seeing her just, like, out and about, just doing her thing out in the world. I thought that was really interesting. That's why I liked this photo set so much, just her, like, on the subway and stuff. I talked to somebody online recently about apnea, and he said that she had just like disappeared completely, and like last he heard of her was like 10 years ago, and she was in some kind of abusive relationship with like the guy who created Suicide Girls. It's really sad. I hope she's doing a lot better these days. I liked her a lot. Yeah, here's more of those photos. Everything's red in the club. I always wanted to go to a goth club after seeing these photos. I've still only been once. I'd still like to go. But yeah, I used to live vicariously through these magazines when I was a teenager. This was like my connection to the goth world. Here is some cool photos. The very beautiful model. This photo here, I actually did a big collage from like ripped magazine photos in high school of this photo for an art project. I want to see, I don't know, maybe I can find a picture of that. If I can't, I'm sorry, but yeah, I recreated this as a torn paper collage, or mosaic. Yeah, mosaic is the word that I'm looking for, sorry. I really like her hair. More photos. Scott Raddick, I still see a lot of this guy's art online. I love his puppets, those are so cool. Look at this. Oh. I really like this dress right here. I think that's really pretty. Wait, sorry. These big titty devil women on the side. I'm not crazy about these camouflage outfits. I'm not a big camo fan. But that was the way back then. Oh, here's a little article about a Gloom cookie. I remember Gloom cookie being a thing, but I never read it. Maybe I should look into it. It looks interesting. It looks cool. I was reading so many like slave labor graphics comics back then, but that was one I never got into, but I should have. Suppose it's never too late, even though I'm sure it's a lot harder to find these days. It's really hard to find old slave labor graphics comics, which is sad, because I love them so much, and now, like, the old Johnny the Homicidal Maniac comics are, like, easy to find, but, like, the other ones, not so much. Even some of the other Jonah Vasquez comics you can't find as easily anymore. Like, I had to buy I Feel Sick, after my copy got stolen by a friend online a few years ago, and it was like $15 on eBay, which I originally paid like $5 for it new, so it's not like super expensive, but it sucks that I can't just like buy it new anymore like I used to be able to. Yeah, there's some more photos. This one's got a bird. Ooh. I always really liked this look with the henna and like the crazy hair. Like, look at that hairpiece. That's incredible. God, I wish I had something like that. That would be awesome. And here's this peacock blue neck piece thing here. I guess this is all peacock blue. Ministry interview. Some music reviews. Yeah, that's the end of interesting things on this. There's the back photo, this little plaid dress here. Let's move on to the next one. I'm not looking at these in any kind of order, but this one's issue 28. This one's in kind of rough shape. I had to tape it back together a little bit. This one is from 2009, apparently. It's when I graduated high school. More bleeding edge goth dolls. Sorry. Demonia ad. I get so mixed up when looking at things on the screen here. It gets my brain confused because it's not mirrored like I expect it to be. Like, I'm used to looking in mirrors, but this is showing things from the, like, correct perspective, and my brain's not used to that, and so I end up turning things the wrong way and pointing to the wrong spots. But the Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab ad that it's kind of interesting. I never wore their perfumes, but I heard that they're really good. I'm not really somebody who gets, like, into perfumes. Here's an article by Acid Pop-Tart about the Night Dracula called. I don't know. I forget what this story was about, but Acid Pop-Tart always had these little interesting stories from her life. I wonder what Acid Pop-Tart's doing these days. This Combi Christ interview. 2009 Dark Cities Survey. 25 cities where it's good to be goth. I remember, I think my friend gave me this magazine because it mentioned something about Birmingham, Alabama being a good city to live in for goths. Not one of the top 25s, but just one that was like an honorable mention, I guess. I'm not finding the part where it says it right now, but she knew I was about to move to Alabama, so she gave me this magazine, and unfortunately, I don't live anywhere near Birmingham, even though I am in Alabama, so I've only been to one of their goth events, but still, it was a nice gesture, and at least I knew that there was something in Alabama. But still, I've lived here for, God, I moved here in 2010, and now it's 2024, so 14 years now, and I've still only been to one goth event in Birmingham, which is sad, but that's the way it goes when you don't have a car sometimes. Ooh, here is Topsy Turvy Designs. They make these cool hats. Wonder if they're still around. I'd like to get a hat like that. I love a fancy hat. Here's a DIY tutorial for a feathered fan. That's pretty. I've got a bunch of feathers lying around. Maybe I'll make one of these. See? Here's a feather right here. Maybe I'll make a fan with it. Art of Davy Jones. Presumably not the one from the Monkees, but these are cool. What's going on with her? She's got like music instruments coming out from her body. Kind of a jack-in-the-box thing too. What's going on here? It's surreal, it's interesting, I like it. Kind of spooky terrarium. Some cyber goth stuff. Here's an ad for Retroscope Fashions. I used to love Retroscope Fashions back in the day. Well, I still have a lot of stuff from them, but yeah, I used to buy a lot of my Lolita clothes from there. I wish they still existed. I love their stuff. They've been gone for a long time now. Here's an ad for Alchemy Gothic, which is still around, still going strong, still making lots of really cool jewelry. Ooh, and I was talking about like Gothic dolls before, but here's one that I always wanted and I still really want. Evangeline Ghastly. Like, look how gorgeous these dolls were. They are so expensive. They were never cheap, but now they're even more expensive now that they aren't making them anymore. But God, they're so nice. Maybe someday, when I have more money, I'll get something like that. Here's some cool coffin-shaped quilts and some ads over on the side here. Amanda T. I used to talk to her on DeviantArt sometimes. This was a ad for Rictroscope Fashions right here. Wedding of Acid Pop-Tart. She's got this beautiful black and white wedding gown. It reminds me of the gown from Sleepy Hollow. Do you remember the black and white dress from that movie, the striped one? Oh, that was so pretty. I'd like to have a replica of that dress someday. I love 18th century fashion as much as I love Victorian fashion. I might like 18th century fashion even more, but I don't have a lot of 18th century style clothing. I'd like to get some though. There's another morph clothing. It's pretty. Oh, here's a whole little article about Evangeline Ghastly and Tonner dolls, which is the company that made them. Yeah, man, my, like, ideal dream job is to, like, be a designer for Gothic dolls. Like, in my dream universe, I would be making designer goth dolls with different little outfits and stuff, just like this, or like the Bleeding Edge goth dolls. I want to be a goth doll designer. I just make my own goth dolls, but I want to make goth dolls for the world. I always really liked this ad here. So pretty. This is an article about Bats Day, which was the Gothic Day at Disneyland. I'm not sure if they're still doing it. I think I heard that they stopped for a while, but maybe they're doing it again. But this picture has Kent and Vixen, who were some goth reality show stars. They were on, I think, The Amazing Race. I remember them being kind of a popular duo back in the 2000s. Here's another Lolita brand that doesn't exist anymore that I really miss, Candy Violet. Can't remember if I ever got anything from Candy Violet. I don't think I ever did, but I used to look at it a lot and want it. But now they're gone. It's so sad thinking about all these things that I grew up just like loving and coveting that no longer exist. Here's a picture of somebody who is still around. This is Queenie Black, and these people are cosplaying her Gothic dolls, which were pockets full of posies. And I'm Facebook friends with her still, but yeah, her dolls aren't being sold anymore either. How sad that we don't have as many Gothic dolls these days. See, this is why I need to step in and create my own Gothic doll line. Pictures. A lot of these Enigma fashions here, they don't really strike me as goth so much, but they're glamorous. Gabrielle. She's always been an amazing designer. I think she's still got an Etsy shop, but I don't think she doesn't have like as many things as she used to. I remember I used to always look at her shop online and drool over all the beautiful designs there. I never got any. A lot of this stuff is stuff that I wanted, but I couldn't afford because I was poor and in high school, so I just had to look at them and fantasize. Phase clothing. I've got one top from Phase clothing, but I've never been crazy about their aesthetic. Gothic gardening article. Here's a feature on the model Drastique. Realm of Darkness. What is this? It's an interesting little illustration. Interview with the legendary Pink Dots. Some dark fairy tale stuff here. It's an ad for Vampire Freaks. Back when it was still a social media platform and not just a clothing shop. God, Vampire Freaks. I remember when I was like 16 years old, I had a Vampire Freaks account, and some middle-aged couple like reached out to me and was like, "We're real vampires and we want to turn you into a vampire too, and you can be our vampire sex slave." Fucking weirdos. But yeah, that website was wild. I don't miss it. But yeah, here's this cute illustration on the back, this little Alice in Wonderland by Jasmine Beckett Griffith, rather. Pretty. Let's see. Take a look at this. This is going to be a long video, sorry about that. It's a Demonia ad here. Remembering Roz Williams from Christian Death. I think this was a art gallery exhibit of his art. That's interesting. An article about alternative culture in the workforce. Another DIY tutorial about sock arm warmers. An article about Visual K. I like this picture here. I like this guy's look. An article about gamer girls. Gamer girls. Interview with the Birthday Massacre. There's an article about Manic Panic. Let's see. Fakona, fashion designer. Oh, this look here. It's got sort of a steampunky vibe. Ooh, this one with the tentacles is cool. Pink label corsets. That's pretty. Pictures. An article with some arm warmers. And then some ads over here. Here's a whole article about Kent and Vixen, the reality show goths. Funeral planner. Coloring and activity book. Another Evangeline Ghastly ad. So pretty. Rose Mortem is a designer that I don't think is around anymore. I remember very beautiful designs, but I remember they were super expensive. So expensive that I felt like I couldn't even afford to look at them. My God. But so pretty though. Just that classic romantic goth look. Their Gothic gardening article. It's interesting the range of topics they covered in this magazine. Like, you wouldn't think of a goth magazine as necessarily having a lot to do with gardening, but you know, they had a range of topics. Pretty pictures are mostly what I'm interested in right now, though. This video is already long, and I've still got plenty more magazines to look at. And now, the back cover here, another illustration by Jasmine Beckett Griffith. Why can't I say that? Strangeling.com. Wonder if that website is still around. Let's see. God, I still got so many more magazines to get through. Okay, here's another coverless Gothic Beauty. The Vampire Freaks ad on the front. Let's see. It's an article about, ooh, this one's from 2007. The Wave Gothic Treffin, 2007. God, I would literally kill to be able to go to Wave Gothic Treffin. I just love looking at pictures from Wave Gothic Treffin. I like to look at the way everybody like dresses and stuff, and I'm really inspired by the way people dress to Wave Gothic Treffin, so even if I can't go there, I can still dress like I am. There's a interview with My Chemical Romance, not exactly goth, but they cover a variety of music genres, any kind of dark alternative music they featured in these magazines. Here's a basic 6-panel A-line skirt tutorial. Interesting. I like that they have DIY stuff in here. Some article about body art. Let's see. Cirque Macabre. Interesting. This doesn't look goth, this just looks like age play. This is pretty though. These corsets here. Another ad for Retroscope Fashions, RIP. Some, I guess, more sophisticated goth makeup looks. Artifice clothing, a lot of PVC or latex or whatever. Shiny fashion, PVC I guess. Shiny, shiny stuff. I always liked how they had like more like Victorian and Lolita-esque designs with their PVC. You don't see a lot of that, but I think it's an interesting combination of aesthetics. Jailbait Idas, ew. I don't like that name. Don't like it. Astro Vamps. Some pinup art of Tyson McAdoo. I liked the very tall shoes that he would draw on his women. I remember back in the day I used to be really inspired by these super tall shoes and these illustrations, and I would draw a lot of people wearing super tall platforms like that. Some more illustrations. Article about horror punk. A very beautiful dress in a Cambrielle ad. Here's the horror punk. Here's some latex. Bleeding edge goth dolls over here. Astro Vamps interview and a picture that I always really loved of the model Wednesday Morning. I really, really love this picture. This was a big inspiration to my fashion back in high school, and honestly probably still now. But I thought she looked so pretty in that photo. Romantic goth coloring book. That's interesting. It's an article about alien skin clothing and a little comic about a goth who gets caught accidentally looking at a gun magazine, and then she gets arrested because they think she's gonna commit a mass shooting because back in the post-Columbine era, that's what they thought we were all about to do. But, you know, this is a commentary on that. I remember that era. It was not fun. People at my school treated me like I was going to be the next Columbine shooter, and I've never wanted to hurt anybody. That's not who I am. I'm uncomfortable around guns, which is rare for the part of the country I live in, which is very, very comfortable with guns, but for some reason I'm the one who gets labeled a potential mass shooter, which is ridiculous, because obviously goth has absolutely nothing to do with that. But, you know, ignorant people with their scapegoats, they want to say that, like, goth is the problem. Stupid. Vampire Masquerade Ball. That sounds like fun. Here's the back cover. Let's see. Got 3 more Gothic Beauties to get through, and then we'll look at the Gothic and Lolita Bible, and then lastly the As If. Sorry if this video is long as hell. This is why I didn't want to read articles. Mystic Crypt. I mentioned this shop in my where to buy fashion video. I'm glad they're still around. I think this is a newer one. This is from 2014, and by newer I mean 10 years old, but some of these are closer to like 20 years old. Tutorial for making masks. Interesting. Oopsie. I noticed this 2014 issue is a lot thinner than some of the older ones. Not as many pages. Plus it was more expensive. Like this issue here, issue 33, was $6.95 it said, and this one here, issue 28, was $5.95, and this one, I guess this one's $6.95 too, issue 44. So yeah, it went up $1 in price from issue 28 to issue 44, even though the magazine itself has less pages, which is unfortunate, but I suppose that's the way it has to be sometimes. About an artist or a zombie. London Edge. Article about a biannual alternative fashion trade fair. Interesting. I wonder if they still do that. Some neat hats. It's an Alchemy Gothic ad. Some cool decor. Medieval collectibles. Cryoflash. Interview with Robert Rodriguez. Some music reviews. Some interesting ads. There's Vanity. I think I've still seen them around. And Retroscope again, which once again, sadly dead. Big hair. Big goth hair. Never been much of a big hair person, personally. It's an interview with Voltaire. Black Phoenix Alchemy Labs ad. It might be the same one as the other one. And once again, on the back, art of Jasmine Beckett Griffith. See, I said it right that time. I was careful. see. Beauty, the Laws of EGL. Interesting title. If anyone knows anything about Lolita fashion, you know there's a lot of rules and stuff, so I guess that's what it's sort of referring to. Another leading edge goth dolls ad in a Demonia ad. Demonia, of course, is still going strong to this day. Another story from Acid Pop-Tart's life. Alice Cooper interview. There's an article about the band Creature Feature. I think this is where I learned about this band. I used to listen to them back in high school. They had sort of fun, spooky music. Kent and Vixit again. I forgot how often they were in this magazine. Interesting pastel fashions. This is sort of our pastel goth before it was called pastel goth. It's Acid Pop-Tart again over here. Some very pretty art dolls. Look at the detail on those, my god. There's a whole article about retroscope fashions. May it rest in peace. Here's the article on Lolita fashion. That's Megan Maud. I actually met her once at a Lolita convention in Atlanta. She used to be the admin of the EGL, Elegant Gothic Lolita, live journal group, which was like the main way for the Western Lolita community to sort of meet online, like back in the day. I remember those days very well. These designs. Just kind of looking like Chapel Rowan over here. Chapel Rowan before there was a Chapel Rowan. 2009 Gothic Cruise. I saw a documentary about the Gothic Cruise one time. Another Evangeline Ghastly ad. Here's the back cover. We're finally on the last Gothic Beauty. Might have had other ones at some point, but they probably got destroyed over the years. I think I had a couple more, at least. But sadly, I didn't always take great care of my stuff. Not back in the day, anyways. Samantha Ray, I remember her. I think she's still around as a designer, but I don't think she does Lolita stuff so much anymore, but I remember back when she did. It's a whole article about Vincent Price. Oh, I remember this Acid Pop-Tart story. This is one where she pretended to be possessed by a demon for like some faith healer preacher guy. Here's a DIY article on how to make your own mini top hat. And here's an ad with some cyber goth fashion. Here's some Tim Burton inspired makeup looks. Here's a feature on the Tim Burton Museum, and here is a lip service ad. Steampunky. Another gothic doll. I forgot about this one. This one's Delilah Noir. Bring back gothic dolls. I remember these ones. Precious Miseries. Yeah, I remember those little guys. An interview with Emily Autumn. I don't listen to Emily Autumn that often anymore, but in high school I really liked her, and I actually got to see her live one time when she went to Arkansas in 2009, which nobody goes to fucking Arkansas, so the fact that she even went there is awesome, and she put on a hell of a show, let me tell you. Like, flaming hula hoops and girls walking on stilts, and it was wild, it was awesome, it was honestly one of the most incredible experiences of my teen years. I went there with my friend Dylan, and we had a blast. Man, that was such a fun day. Here's an ad about the PMX Pacific Media Expo, and this is the designer of the Lolita brand, Angelic Pretty. This is Maki. Interesting how this isn't the Lolita magazine, but there's still a little bit of Lolita content in here. There's a whole picture of Emily Autumn here. Yeah, she puts on a hell of a show. An article about the magician Dan Sperry. I've seen his stuff before. He's pretty impressive. And here is Evangeline Ghastly once again, taunting me that I can't have one of those dolls. In blue. Faith in the Muse. Went on a North American tour in spring 2010. Went to Atlanta, Georgia. I want to see Faith in the Muse. Living Dead dolls. I'm surprised we haven't seen more ads for them. They were a really popular one back in the day. I was never that into Living Dead dolls myself, but they were really big back then. An article on Faith in the Muse. Really like Faith in the Muse. I've used one of their songs for one of my outros before. Another Gothic gardening article. Continuation of the Dan Sperry interview, the magician guy. Some music reviews, some ads. Oh! Here's a whole little spotlight on Pockets Full of Posies. I mentioned them in the article about the Bats Day celebration, the Disneyland Goth Day. But yeah, these are little dolls that were designed by Weenie. Jessica Jocelyn. Ooh, look at these. These bone sculptures. Very cool. Very cool. Beautiful photo shoot. Poppins. I bought a skirt from them a long time ago. Here's a little Emily the Strange doll. And once again, an illustration by Jasmine Beckett Griffith. I think of the magazines that I had covers for, only one of them didn't have a back cover with the art of Jasmine Beckett Griffith on it. Now let's move on to my Gothic and Lolita Bible. I used to have 2 of the English Gothic and Lolita Bibles. I had the first one, but that one sadly fell apart. So now I just have this one, which was, I believe, the last one they made, the wedding issue. A lot of the photos that are in here are taken from older Gothic and Lolita Bibles, the Japanese ones, but a lot of them are also new original photos from the Western audience, the American audience, I guess, maybe, I guess outside of America too. But I think, here's a little comic here, but I think this is really interesting. It's the like real life version of the illustration on the cover. Look at that. Oh, that's a beautiful photo right there. Look at that. Gothic weddings. Not super interested in wedding stuff, but it's still fun to look at the Gothic and Lolita take on wedding fashion. This part here, is it really wedding? These Mille Noir and Mille Fleur dresses are really pretty. I always really liked that brand. They weren't one of the most popular ones, but I always really liked their stuff. Photos. Got Misako Aoki right here. Of course, can't have a Lolita magazine without Misako. Once again, here she is. Probably won't be the last time we see her. Here is an interview with Megan Maud and Samantha Ray, of Blasphemina's Closet, and we saw both of those designers already in the Gothic Beauty magazines. It's cool how, you know, we see some of the same people in both magazines. Cater to different subcultures, but they're still crossover. Here's an article with different designers and musicians and stuff, asked about like their ideal wedding ring and wedding gown. Cute. There's some more of those. This one in the corner I really like, by the Putumayo designer. I like this like little castle ring that he designed. It would be very impractical, but said he designed. I think it's a woman, but don't mind me, I'm stupid. Here's some DIY tutorials here and some patterns. I love how both of these magazines have so many DIY sort of tutorials and stuff. I think that's cool. I think any alternative subculture should have a DIY element to it. It's an article about cakes, Charm City Cakes. That was Ace of Cakes TV show. I used to watch that all the time. Like to see a fancy cake. Here is an article about Lolita makeup for different ethnicities, and I love the idea behind it, but I was never too impressed by these makeup looks, to be honest with you. But that's just me, that's just my tastes. various little knickknacks. Angelic Pretty fashion. Atelier vase. And baby, the star shines bright. Love Atelier vase. Peace Now and H Now Toe. Innocent World and Putumayo. Musician Kaya. Some Angelic Pretty ads. Very cutesy, sweet Lolita stuff. Here's a little hair comb DIY tutorial. Those streak snaps of Parisian Lolitas. And some street snaps of Harajuku Lolitas. Ooh, I loved the outfits on these two pages here. The Triple Fortune outfits, like the ones with these ringlets. Oh, I am such a sucker for Lolita outfits with those ringlet wigs. God, so pretty. All these. The ones on this page are really pretty too. Here's some reader photos. Here's an event. Rococo themed event. Very cool. Love some of this Rococo inspired fashion. Look at these. Like I said, I love 18th century styles just as much as Victorian styles. Some Lolita event. Wonder Party. So Texas Lolita event. Here was some Angelic Pretty event. We've got the Angelic Pretty designers Maki and Asuka right here. Maki was in the Gothic Beauty magazine that we looked at earlier. Love to see how the subcultures overlap. Here's a photo shoot, and this girl in blue here, this is M. Alice the Grove, who did the comic Isengast, which is really interesting. I used to talk to her on DeviantArt back in the day. And here's a little comic that she made for the magazine, and here are some of the patterns that came included with this. I hadn't taken them out. Here's the back cover. Now, only one thing left to look at, which is As If, which I think is the most exciting part, because this is such a rare magazine. This I actually got from my mom's cousin, who, if you know Sid, if you follow my sibling Sid over on the Sydney Casket Base channel, is actually her mom. This magazine was made by Clint Catalyst, who back in the 90s in the San Francisco goth scene, he was like a big deal, and he also is an author. He wrote a book called Cottonmouth Kisses, but before he moved to California, he lived in Arkansas, which is where I'm from, and he was friends with my parents and with my mom's cousin, Sid's mom, so like he's a family friend. And then he went off to California and became a big name in the goth scene, but when he was living in Arkansas, he made this goth zine, and that's how I got my hands on it, from Sid's mom, my mom's cousin. I know that's complicated. I promise it's not a incest thing. They aren't related by blood. My dad just, you know, married two different cousins several years apart. I know it's a little strange, but onto the magazine. This is the cover. This one's all in black and white. If you want a closer look at this, I actually have scanned the entire thing and put it on Reddit because I think that it's really interesting. It's a very interesting piece of goth history. I think they all are, but this one especially, since it's such a rare zine like this. It's not something that was published in, you know, stores across the country and whatever, Hastings or Hot Topic and wherever I got these other magazines from. I think those are the main two places I got them, but yeah, this was just a little independent zine that was circulated around in the Arkansas goth scene, of all things. It's an interview with Love Spirals Downwards. Some illustrations. Dude's looking like Bart Simpson over here. I remember I saw somebody say online once, you can always tell when a photo is of a modern trad goth versus a authentic trad goth from the 80s or 90s, because the modern trad goths all have septum piercings, and they said that in the 80s and 90s none of the trad goths had septum piercings, but here's a trad goth from the 90s with a septum piercing right here, so clearly there were at least some of them back then. Maybe not as common, but goes to show these things are not as new as some people think. Last Dance. It's an interview with Black Tape for a Blue Girl. Can't show this picture, there's a bit of a penis. Gotta skip that one. If you want to see it, like I said, check out my Reddit link. I'm gonna put it in the comments of the description or somewhere. Like, you'll be able to find it. I'll link to it. You can take a look. Take a look at this whole magazine. Sorry I haven't scanned into other magazines, but I can only do so much for you. Might be able to find them somewhere else, but pretty sure my scan of this is the only place you'll be able to find this magazine as if in full. Anyways, that is the end of my magazines. I hope you enjoy taking a look at these pieces of Gothic and Lolita history with me. I thought they were pretty interesting. Now all that's left to do is check out my outfit.